Good evening. It's Wednesday, April 29th, 2015, and welcome to our weekly Team Inspire call. So tonight I'm pretty excited to welcome our special guest, Cassie Cain. She is a fellow teammate of ours. I'm not going to go into a ton of her story because she's going to do that as a part of her topic tonight, the power of sharing your story. But Cassie is a mom of two little girls, and she's an Air Force wife. She's originally from Seattle, but went to college in Maine, our neck of the woods over here. She worked in big box retail management for 15 years before leaving the workforce to stay home with her girls. She's been a Shakeology customer for 2 years and a coach for only about 18 months, but active as a business builder for 13 of those months. She claims to us, as I always telling you guys, that Summit is a game changer. So Summit really changed things for her and turned her business around after last year. And Cassie's a diamond coach. So Cassie, welcome to the call. I'm so excited to have you join us and share your story. So tell us a little bit about your journey and kind of take us back to how you got started with Beachbody.
Awesome. Yeah. So thank you guys. I am super excited. This is very cool to get to talk about this. This is a topic that I think is really important because a lot of times we get so worried about sharing ourselves. And I think that there's so much power in telling our stories. And so I'm going to take you guys kind of back to how I got started with Beachbody. I did become a coach. I actually just had my 19-month anniversary today, so that's pretty exciting. I was trying to figure out exactly to the day. I had to go and look it up. And I started as a customer that was just looking for some ideas for eating. And I came across my coach, Elizabeth Blackford. She lived here on base with me, and she just was doing a free 5-day clean eating group. And she just she was like, it's going to be some recipes and you just check in. And I was like, yeah, I'm starting to get into this clean eating thing. This would be really cool. So I just kind of found out about it, and she was talking about the Shakeology thing. So I tried Shakeology and I was like, oh, it's pretty good. And I kind of put it on the back burner. Okay. And this was a little over 2 years ago. And I had just had my second daughter, and I was tipping the scales about 240 pounds at this point, but I knew that I needed to do something. I just didn't know what it was. And I really wanted to focus on being healthy more than just losing weight. Because I'd had a health scare. I was carrying my daughter around, and I had heart palpitations, got really dizzy and lightheaded, and went to the doctor, and they said I might have had a slight mini heart attack, but nothing was registering. So big health scare, and I knew I had to do something different. But again, like I said, I kind of put the Shakeology and Beachbody on the back burner because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I tried some other things in the meantime. And then finally, I just came back around and I was like, you know what? That really was all about just being healthy. And that was my big focus, was I wanted to get healthy. And so I talked to Liz, and she said, you know what? You can sign up with this awesome new program. It's called T25. It had just come out, and you can get some Shakeology with it. And it's going to be a great little discount to get it all together. And she said, you might as well do a coach because you're military. So I was like, it's no big deal. Yeah, you can be a coach. You'll get a discount. It's like, awesome. Sign me up. So did the T25 challenge group, lost 32 pounds doing that, and had amazing, it was like, I was loving life. It was phenomenal. I fell in love with Shakeology after 3 days. I was hooked. And I wasn't doing anything with coaching, honestly. I was using it for the discount for my Shakeology. At the end of it, she invited me to attend a training. And I clicked on the training. I said, sure, I'll check it out. I didn't know what I was signing up for. And I didn't know what the training was all about. I had no clue what this push to emerald meant or anything like that. But I kind of checked in every day. And I honestly was disengaged. I really just kind of looked at the stuff and didn't really answer any questions or do anything. And then I just posted one day my before and afters from T25, because people I was running into were asking me what was going on. And so I just posted on Facebook. So posted this at the end of September. And I said I was going to give myself a birthday present, a new body and blah, blah, blah. And everybody was like, yeah, whatever. Posted the picture and I got 400 likes on my picture. And I was like, something clicked. And the thing that clicked was in that little Push to Emerald group, people were talking about sharing your before and afters. And I got all these likes and they said, just show people your experience. And people were coming out of the woodwork that I hadn't talked to since high school, asking me, what did I do? What was going on? What was this thing I was doing? And that was kind of when the light bulb went off for me. And I was like, wait a minute, there's something to this. Maybe I should be talking to people about what I'm doing. And so I didn't really jump in. I just kind of was saying, hey, yeah, you go to my website, you can do this. I wasn't working the business. I was just answering questions as people were coming to me. And then I was asked by Liz again if I would participate and if I wanted to participate in another training. Again, it was another Push to Emerald. So she was like, get to Emerald, come on. And so I did. I went through this one a little bit more engaged this time, but I still was not, working the business every day or anything like that. I was really just focused on me. And there was a girl in the group that talked about sharing your story again. So it was kind of like, I'm hearing this over and over again. And so I did it again. I said, you know what, it was kind of cool. I did this. I lost all this weight. I was then down again, another about 40 pounds since then. And again, I got all these people asking me what I was doing. And I was like, okay, I answered the questions and I made $600 that month. And I was like, holy crap, there's something to this. There really is something to this. And that was my big light bulb went off. That was the fluorescent light bulb went off. And that was the point where I really started to dive in and I paid attention. I actually went back to the beginning of the training that was then a month old and watched all the videos and really took notes and started to get engaged. Signed up my husband that month and then signed up my sister as a coach that month and I made it to Emerald, right? And then I started working the business. And it was within 6 months of that big light bulb going off that I was actually able to get to Diamond. And the point where I made Diamond was the biggest thing, my biggest aha moment really came. Because you hear about your why and why, knowing what your why was. And I thought my why was really about my health and why I wanted to make my business work because I wanted to be healthy and really continue to focus on my health. But my why really became clear when I became Diamond. At the same time that happened, my husband was basically on the verge of getting out of the Air Force and his career was going to be over and then it would be up in the air what would happen with us. And I knew that I did not want to go back to the big box retail environment, but I knew I would have to if his job ended. And my why became very clear. I had to make this business work because I needed to be able to support our family if that went away. And there's still the possibility that at that point that it could happen any moment. So I dove in so deep and I went from making, maybe $400, $500 a month to making that on a low week. So that was my big game changer for me. It was that knowing my why and how important it was. And so at this point I'm up to, I believe I have about 60 coaches on my team. About half of those are discount coaches, but half of my coaches do work the business. About 10% of those honestly are working actively every day. But you know what? Everybody's on their journey. Everybody's on their fitness journey. Everybody's on their own journey as a coach. And I think that there's going to be those stages and those moments where it changes along the way for you. So, and that brings you to today. And I am a Diamond coach. I have 6 coaches that are one coach away from Diamond. So it's when you're on the verge and you can feel something really cool about ready to happen, that's kind of where it is for me right now. I feel like my team is about ready to explode, which is pretty cool to see that happen, especially heading into Summit and knowing that there's going to be so many cool things that are going to be available to them at Summit that, again, that's a big game changer. I can't tell you the biggest takeaways that I take notes. It's unbelievable. So that's my story. And I wanted to just go back and talk about two different things when you're telling your story. It's important to know your story as a coach and know your story as a person. And I think that you're going to have to learn what your story is and practice it. I've told my story a bazillion times, and I tell it different to whoever I'm talking to. So tonight, talking to coaches, so I'm telling you my coach story. When I'm talking to customers, I tell my customer story. My customer story is much more my personal struggle with my weight, has a lot more to do with me being overweight my entire adult life, spending probably thousands upon thousands of dollars on weight loss that never worked, and then having my weight loss, my scare. So, that knowing those two separate stories is important. The other big thing is to have your elevator bio. And this is something that has come in really handy when I'm talking to potential customers, your elevator bio. And it's something to practice. It is your 30, 60 second spiel on you and what your story is, and as a weight loss story or as a coach if you're talking to a potential coach. And this is one that's really important to be able to understand. You have to know your why, and you're going to share your why, and then you're going to share what being part of, Shakeology, drinking Shakeology, challenge groups or whatever has done for you, and then what that has meant to you, or, what has coaching meant to you. So for example, if you're talking to somebody about Shakeology, Shakeology for me has meant that I don't have to drink coffee by the pot anymore. That's a big, cool thing. I save money and I'm not rotting from the inside. So, that's a quick little spiel that you can share with somebody. So the elevator bio, and practice those. It sounds funny, but I get in front of the mirror and I practice these things, and I stumble through them, and then I practice them again. And then I'll grab my phone and I'll record them and I'll watch them. But it's really important to be able to do that, because then it just becomes second nature. When you meet somebody out and about, you can share your story really quick, and it's just your elevator bio. The next two topics that I just really think is so important about sharing your story is be honest and be vulnerable. So I think a lot of times we want to be something. We want to be the ideal, we want to be the ideal coach. We want to be the Melanie Mitro. We want to be the Lindsay Matway. Guess what? I'm not either one of them, ladies. And I want to be myself. I am, I'm not a girly girl. I'm a total tomboy, and I need to be true to myself, because that's part of my story. And if I try to be something else, it's not going to work. And then the second part of that is being vulnerable. And I think a lot of times we are afraid to show our weaknesses and show our faults. And that can lead to kind of it puts a wall up there in between us and other people. But if you share all of that as part of your story, it's very relatable, and people are going to be drawn into you because they're like, oh man, this is a real person. This is somebody that totally understands my struggles, my experiences, because guess what? We've all tripped. We've all fallen down, and you're just going to show them that you can get back up. So I think those two things were something that in coaching was so big for me, because once I figured that, I was really able to open up as a person and talk more about myself. I was very shy before Beachbody. And once I found that people relate to vulnerable and relate to honesty and hearing your struggle, it made it a lot easier for me to open up and share, because I before thought that was those weaknesses were faults that weren't going to be admirable by other people. And then once you've told your story, the most important thing that you can do is be ready to listen. So once you've said your elevator bio, or you've said whatever it is, that's when you have to be prepared to listen. And I think a lot of times that's the hardest thing to do, because we're so wrapped up in telling our story, and you want them to then ask you questions. But at that point, it's where you flip the switch and you go, okay, it's my turn to listen. And that's when you need to get into asking questions mode. So for me, that was another big moment when I realized that, because I would tell my story and then I'd be like, don't you want to know more? Don't you want to know more? And people get turned off by that. So as soon as you want to get their story then. So start asking those questions and be ready to listen. Don't relate it immediately back to you. Let them relate to you, not relate to them. So that's the power of your story. That's what I have for you guys.
That's awesome. Excellent. I was thinking the same things when we were in Cancun and we got to sit in front of the elite panel and listening to the do's and don'ts of the higher ups and stuff. And I think it's so easy, especially when you first get started, to get swept away by the top coaches and stuff. I mean, I definitely have followed Melanie Mitro from the beginning, and so excited for her that she's, in this position. But it's like, you look at her posts and you look at all of her things and you're thinking, oh, she's so relatable to me because she's a mom too. And how can I be like that? But I'm never going to be like that because that's, and I'm me. So it's hard though. I think sometimes you want to be like, if I'm like that coach, then I'm going to be successful or whatever. But the truth is to be, yourself, and you'll be successful in your own right.
Exactly. You have to be comfortable in your skin and let people know that that's you. I think it's really funny. When I first started my like page, same thing. I would be like, because I love Melanie Mitchell. I think she's just phenomenal. So I would see one of her posts and I'm like, oh, I can do a post like that. And I'm not kidding you. I would copy, paste, put my own picture in it and nothing, crickets. And I'm like, how does she have 10,000 people liking her post, but I get nothing?
Right.
I boost the post. I'm like, maybe if I boost it, it'll work.
Right. You pay for
it. And it never did because it wasn't me. And then it wasn't until I would share a goofy story about my kids or something silly that I did. That's when people are like, oh yeah, that's awesome. And you can admire what they're doing and just try and find what that element is in you and use that. And that's exactly it. She's honest about everything, and you can see, it's all Melanie in her posts. And so you just need to make sure that, it's all Megan in your posts or it's all Cassie. So yeah.
Well, that's great. Dawn, do you have any questions? Being my new coaches, so I figured it would be good to hear her story tonight.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Megan said that you work with some customers that had bypass surgery.
Yeah.
So I had bypass surgery almost 3 years ago in June. So I'm trying to figure out, how I can relate that to some people. And I met with my nutritionist the other day. This is because I'm starting to do the 21-day fix and, being rearranged and stuff. I'm trying to figure, what can I use as far as containers? And she said, basically use the lowest calorie one and see how it works, not changing anything up. Do you have people that are changing it up or no?
So all of the ladies that I worked with, I've done 3 challenge groups with them. And each time it's kind of interesting because they all belong to the same support group for gastric bypass. So all from the same clinic too. So they've all had work done same place. So they all go to the same nutritionist and everything. And the first group that I did, they were all within less than a year of their surgery. So they were still under quite a few restrictions on what they could be, eating. Now the last group that we did, and each time, so when I say a group, it's just a new group of people. So all of those ladies have since continued through into my graduates group. The new group of people, they're all about 2 and 3 years, so about where you are, and it just changes. So at that point, they're actually reintroducing some carbs, a lot of complex carbs. So what I found that they're getting recommended, and I've worked with their dietitian very closely, so we make sure that we're making the best recommendations for them. A lot of the time, so just like what Autumn says, is if you eat off the top third, those are your better choices than if you go further down the list in each of the categories. And that's exactly what the dietitian is saying, is you just stick to this top third, especially when it comes to the carbs. So she's really having them eliminate processed foods, which is, it's ideal for anybody. She's having them, waffles are off limits. That's one of those things, it's like, that should be off limits for anybody anyways. But, so I think what's really cool is that you're just seeing that it's really just important for anybody to eat healthy like this, no matter what. So depending on the stage though, that's about, and now I have 2 ladies that, they were, I want to say 4 years out and like 6 years out. And they were almost all the way back up at their pre-weight. And they have both lost over 60 pounds. And they were eating to just following exactly the meal plan like it's prescribed. They were like, we're just going to do this exactly like it says. And like I said, and that's now we're 6 rounds in. So they're doing phenomenal at 6 rounds to be, 50, 60 pounds down. So.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Cause I haven't been following the actual food plan, just kind of eating my, own stuff, but that's good.
Yeah. I think the biggest part is just those carbs. Cause that was the biggest thing that the dietitian was recommending. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exciting as far as for relating that to people. There's such a support network there with people that have gone through that surgery that once you can get into that community, and you're going to be able to reach out to so many people, because a lot of times what I found from working with these ladies is that they get the surgery done, but they never really learn then how to eat, or, they don't have the new healthy habits established. So they basically are kind of like left to their own devices, except for, 6 months dietitian checking that they have. So I think it's really important that you'll be able to give them that support and be that person for them.
Yeah, I think the hardest part is you lose the weight so fast, depending on how much you are overweight, is some people will lose it in like 6 months. I lost mine in less than 6 months to, get down to my lowest. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't really give you enough time to actually start getting good habits in place. And then it's like one little slip up, like I was telling Megan, one little piece of candy, for Halloween, and it just throws it all off, 2.5 years later. I'm still battling that addiction.
Yeah. You know what? Everybody does. Doesn't matter if you've had the surgery or not. We've all battled it. As soon as you tasted one bit of sugar, you're addicted. That's it. Everybody has that addiction out there, unfortunately. But it's even more intense for you.
Yeah, it's worse for me now than it was before. Mm-hmm. It's like 10 times worse.
Yeah.
So that's a struggle bug. I'll get past it.
No, you know what? You won't. It's an everyday kind of thing. It's just one of those things that's every day you just stay committed to it. You don't ever lose it. You just, I was at my heaviest 260 pounds, and do I want to just gorge myself on ice cream often? Yeah. You know what? But I know how hard I worked to lose over 100 pounds. It took me 11 months, and I lost 109 pounds in 11 months from when I started. And I know how hard that was, and I never want to go back because I don't want to have to do that again. So, but it's one of those things. You never go through it. You're just always going to be there. And accepting that and being able to go, it's going to be there. That's my monkey on my back. My food addiction is totally my monkey on my back.
Yeah. Right.
Well, that's awesome, guys. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. I loved hearing from you. Thank you. All right. Well, I guess that's all. And thanks. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.